My name's Polly, and I've just come today because I'd love to share my story with you guys, but also I'd like to share something else. This is my Olympic silver medal. I won it in Rio 2016 in the women's 8. We were the first ever British women's 8 to ever win an Olympic medal, and there's something special about this. I will pass it around the crowd. I want you to feel its weight. You know, she's been given to so many different people around the world, school children, university students, you know, at lectures, and there's something special about sharing the physicality of a medal with other people. And take time, you can have a feel of it, you can put it on, I don't mind. You know, this is part of my story, and this represents part of that, and I would love to share that with you guys. So I'm going to pass it around the crowd. Take your time, as long as I get it back. Don't be that kid that was swinging it around like this, okay, at school one time and dropped it. I will come and find you. I will hunt you down. But yeah, feel it. It's something special, and hopefully, you know, you can feel the power of it and take something from that. So I'll pass it around. Please pass it to others, and yeah, take your time. It's cool. So, my name's Polly, as I said. I am a 2-time Olympian. I'm a world and European champion. I'm a trainee surgeon, I'm a doctor, I'm a mentor, I'm a public speaker. And despite all of this, all of those accolades, I am a self-doubter. Once upon a time, I thought I wanted to be superhuman. I don't know if you remember the first time that you ever watched the Olympic Games. I remember it so vividly. It was 2000, Sydney Olympics. Denise Lewis had just won the heptathlon gold medal in fantastic style. Sir Steve Redgrave had won his 5th Olympic gold medal, and I was transfixed. These guys were like the pinnacle of human existence. I just felt so inspired. They just bring the best out of each other. They performed the best they could on the day, and it was just awesome in the realest sense of the word. It was really strange, though, because I also remember I was pretty young, and I remember thinking, this little voice in my head, do you know, I could never be like that. These guys are superhuman. I could never be that person. They're amazing. They must have such self-confidence. They must have such self-belief, and yet I wish I could be like that. It could never be me. And you know, I think this funny self-talk, this negative self-talk, this voice in my head has probably always been there. Do you know, I remember at school being asked to, you know, read a page from the book and being absolutely terrified. Maybe being asked my times tables and just thinking, oh, you can't get this wrong, you can't get this wrong. Or waiting to be, you know, picked for a sport team or something, and no one's going to want to pick you, Paul. It's not going to happen. And I think that's probably something, at some point in our lives, we can all identify with. We've always had that little negative self-talk in our heads. Let's fast forward a couple of years, and I found the sport of rowing, and I was in love. I love rowing. I'm so passionate about it. For those that don't know or have never been exposed to the sport, it's this amazing, amazing conglomeration of power and technique, endurance, and all the while you're kind of balancing on this tiny piece of carbon fiber on a river or on a lake, and you have to move in perfect synchronicity with your team members. It's amazing. And okay, so I was 14, and I was traveling around the country and with all my best friends in the back of the minibus, like singing songs and things like this, and I was just loving life. It was brilliant. I found love. The sport of rowing was my passion, and I knew it just deep in my heart. And I remember really, really vividly, my coach at the time, a guy called Mr. Wilkinson, sat me down and he said, Polly, you have got so much potential. You could be great. You could be one of the elite. You could represent your country. And as a young girl, that felt heavy on my shoulders. That word, potential, just felt daunting. Something that I could be, but wasn't. Something that maybe one day I could achieve, but I knew inside of myself, that's not me. I am not superhuman. I couldn't do these things. And that was a huge pressure, and it really plagued my junior career. I would go and race races, and when I was with the team, I felt brilliant, I felt unstoppable, but as soon as it was me on my own having to deliver an individual performance, I would crumble under the pressure. I couldn't handle this voice in my head, Polly, you're not good enough, you feel weak, you can't do this, what if you fail? And so when it came to the big races, the big days, I would kind of be quite relieved if maybe I was ill or injured or something didn't quite work out. And that was fine. But like I said, this really plagued my junior career, and it wasn't until I was into my mid-20s that I was kind of tired of being the girl with potential, the potential that wasn't realized. And I realized that something needed to change. I needed to take the first step. I needed to get over this little voice in my head. And so I did some serious soul searching, and I realized that there was kind of 3 things that I needed to adjust, or, develop something, like I would call it my toolkit, to use time and time again for when I felt anxious, for when I felt that horrible negative feeling in my head. And I wanted to think about things emotionally. I wanted to think about things, how it made me feel physically, because that anxiety feeling is so physical, isn't it? You feel it in your belly, you feel the wobbles in your legs. And I wanted to address that voice, the mental capacity that I had to go and deliver an individual performance. And I called it my toolkit. And I would reach into my toolkit time and time again and practice positivity in order to be able to go and deliver on the big stage. So, in terms of the emotional component, for me, rowing was always about teamwork. And that's what it motivated me. That's what drove me to succeed, okay? It was the people around me that would get the best out of myself, and I would get the best out of them. And so I decided that I wanted to use that power, harness that power of being part of something greater than just myself, of being part of that team. And whenever I had something that was coming up, a race or a trial, something that meant that I had to deliver as an individual, I would use those members of my team to get the best out of myself. And I would devote portions of the race to those people, whether it was a teammate, a rower, or maybe my coach, or even a physiotherapist. I would allot 100 meters of a race was devoted to that person. And it was amazing how things transformed. Suddenly, instead of where that would be my normal dip, where I would start doubting myself, oh gosh, this is awfully hard, I'm really struggling my heart is going, my legs feel really weak, I'm not sure I can keep going in this race. Suddenly I was revived, and I felt like, yeah, I can do this for her. I can do that for him, because they're relying on me. And it spurred me on to deliver. It was a huge change, and I kind of loved it, and I still do it today. Do you know, I'm not competing anymore, but if I have, I'll go and do the park run, right, on a Saturday, and I'll still go and devote part of that park run to someone who's special to me, and it just gives me that little bit more motivation to deliver. Okay, so what about the physical aspect? What do I have in my toolkit for my physical aspect? It's actually something that I was inspired by from a TED talk. I don't know if any of you ever watched the one about power poses, but I thought, I like this power pose thing, okay? And so, it sounds stupid, it sounds embarrassing, but I would go and find myself a mirror in the regatta, in the boat park. I would stand, hands on hips, puff my chest out. Oh, that's the back of the the clicker. And look at myself in the mirror and say, you are good enough. You can do this. And you better believe it, I was doing it back there just before I came on here. And every single day when I go into an operating theatre, I will walk down that corridor, getting ready to go and perform some surgery. I will puff my chest out and I will say, you can do this. And it's complete. I ask you all to give it a shot. If you ever experience that negative thought in your chest, that feeling of weakness in the legs, that fluttering in your heart, give it a go. See how you feel about a power pose. It's made a huge difference to me. Then what did I use in my toolkit for that mental, that negative self-talk, the mental component that I needed to address? So I would have a journal, and I knew that the same questions or the same self-doubts kept coming up again and again. You can't do this. You're not good enough. You feel weak. What if you fail? And so I made a conscious effort to always have an answer for those worries, those questions in my mind. You can't do this. Well, of course you can do this. This is just another day. You've done it in training. You've done it time and time again. Last week, we did something exceptional together as a team. Of course you can do this today. You feel weak. That's just the feeling of adrenaline in your legs. That is just you preparing to do your best. You know you're not weak because 3 weeks ago, you got a PB in your squats. So, girl, you're strong. I can't do this. What if I fail? And my answer was always, you just have to take the first step. You just have to try. And most importantly, from the mental perspective, I used to sit on the start line of every race, whether it be a trial, a world championships, my first ever Olympic Games, and I would ask myself the question, is there anywhere else in the world that you would rather be in this moment, right here, right now? And invariably, the answer would be, of course not. I'm ready. It took a lot of time and a lot of soul searching for me to kind of get this together, but I'm so pleased I did. Let me now transport you to the Rio Olympic Games. It was my first Olympic Games. It's where I won my medal. It's something very, very, very special to me. We were a group of 9 women going to try and achieve our goal, our dream of becoming the first British women ever to win an Olympic medal. We'd been through thick and thin together, and we were the best of friends, and our team was so tight-knit. It was absolutely incredible. So we were all kind of going into it running on a high, and you get to the start line, and it's this really strange place, okay? You think it might be quite somber and quite quiet, but actually it's full of life and emotion and anticipation. There's 54 women sat on a start line ready to go into battle. They've been preparing for this their whole entire lives. You know, their hopes and dreams are pinned on this 6-minute race, this 2-kilometer race that only takes place once every 4 years. You have a row of spectators straight in front of you, almost as close as you guys are to me now. And they're just peering, watching, shouting words of encouragement. There's lots of sort of banging and, the girls will kind of rattle their oars in the gates of the boat. They'll slap their thighs in anticipation of the lactate that's about to course through their veins. The atmosphere is thick. You can kind of cut it. In the morning, I was a bag of nerves. I couldn't handle it. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was sort of pacing up and down. I hadn't slept a wink, literally not a wink of sleep the night before. And we're always told how important sleep is for your, performance. I couldn't eat. I felt sick. My legs were wobbling all over the place. I was kind of doing my puffing out the chest, do some power poses. Let's see if I can get myself ready. Nothing was working. I can't do this. Polly, you've chosen this life. You've chosen to be here. This is your dream, and you're hating it. It's awful. And suddenly you find yourself on this start line, and all you can think of is that you don't want to be there. And there's 8 other women in a boat waiting for you to come and perform, and you relying on them as well. And the panic just sets in. My panic presented itself in a very strange way. We were given these bracelets that were made out of material. I tied it in knots. I've been rowing around training all week. We'd raced our heat with this bracelet on. And for some reason, as the roll call is being called out, so USA, Romania, Great Britain, all I could think of, we had seconds until we were about to race. Our final of the Olympic Games was, you need to take this bracelet off because, Polly, it might somehow slip off and then it'll get caught in the boat and then you'll ruin the whole entire race. So you have to take it off immediately. I mean, come on, what? So there I was, footering around with this bracelet. Oh, I've got it. And then I tried to tie it to my shoe. New Zealand, Australia, we're literally about to go, and I hadn't done my thing. Finally, I got it onto my shoe, thank goodness. I sat forward, I looked to my left, I looked to my right. I could see my competitors, they are like rippling with muscles. They look so calm and composed and strong and ready. The women in the boat with me have come forward and they are breathing deeply and getting ready for the go. I take that breath. I ask myself the question, is there anywhere you would rather be in the world than right here, right now? Christ the Redeemer was staring at us from high up in the clouds. No, I'm ready. This is where I need to be. I just need to take the first step. And I'd like to share that with you.
So we're away then in the A final in the women's 8, the biggest boat of all.
Yeah, Great Britain pushed themselves through at the silver medal. They're staying with America.
It's Britain or Romania for that silver medal, and GB just got it.
I guess I'd just like to finish by saying, do you know, I would love to say that my story is this magic whirlwind where, you know, I competed against my own demons and I'm now this super confident, wonderful woman who can do anything. And that's not true. That would be selling you a lie. I still battle with that negative self-talk. I use my toolkit on a daily basis, and it's a constant cycle of growth and improvement. I will never be a super confident woman. I will never be that person who just has inner self-belief. And that's okay. I like to use my toolkit to make me do the things that I would like to do, but don't believe that I can. I use my toolkit to make sure I take that first step and I don't hide behind my fears. And I suppose my lesson is you don't have to be a superhuman to take that first step. And I would love for you to see that it just takes knowing yourself, knowing what you need, and allowing yourself to take that step to achieve what you would love. So thank you very much.